First of all, it's humbling to speak after this amazing panel. When Aziz and I thought what to say, we thought to share some comments about the way we see the positive and optimistic future of the Middle East. And I think, and we dotted some points, and we'll have a little conversation, hopefully to tell you some of our perspectives. I think the first one I had in mind is that we talk about people, not governments. And when you have the people's point of view, things look slightly different. And as I've been telling friends around the world for the last 20 years, when you come to my country and talk to the people, there's a rather silent majority which knows that there will be a Palestinian state, there is a Palestinian state, that Israel will have to evacuate most of the settlements, and that Jerusalem will have to be divided into two separate capital cities. The question is only when, and after how many more casualties, unfortunately. And I think, I once saw a map of the world that looks like a puzzle, and there was a missing piece in the middle, the shape of Israel and Palestine, right? And it says the missing piece is the missing piece. And it seems like, I keep on bringing all these quotations from successful and less successful politicians. I'm a political scientist myself. And it was Henry Kissinger, who was both a political scientist, a politician, and he's even Jewish, I think. Yeah, he is Jewish. And who said that the problem with the Middle East, or one of the problems, is that people there, at least the leaders, do not miss a chance to miss a chance. And there's a huge issue of lack of leadership. Aziz will talk about it in a second. We feel that all the things we talked about here, we talked about entrepreneurial peace, we talked about bottom-up solutions, we talked about giving yourself permission. Danny mentioned the fact of being happy and productive. All these things could be the beginning of the end of the conflict. And I guess, as we realized, it's difficult for us to do it alone. I mean, Aziz and I see eye to eye on many things, but somehow the governments or the... I think it's funny. Well, I think Aziz is an unbelievable hero, but he's not funny.
We'll prove him wrong later.
Speaking of which, let me and I'm done in like a minute or less. It's funny to see how both Palestinians and Israelis have a very similar sense of humor, as kind of a weapon or as kind of a very thick skin to hide the hypersensitivity underneath it. And someone said, oh, come on. And someone said once, I think it's an English poet who said, as long as I'm a person, I will take everything personally. And I'm very happy to be a person and try to think almost everything personally and try to be the solution and not the problem. And that's why I feel super privileged and humbled to sit by Aziz and to be here sharing with you and learning from you your solutions and trying to understand the problems. And I think the last thing I would like to say is that it seems like we have been having difficulties over the last century or so to solve the problems ourselves. You may have realized that by now, because it's a very small place which creates a ridiculous amount of noise in terms of public media. And I think what we might need is, as the song says, a bit of help from our friends. And it could be a friend in thinking, it could be a friendship in terms of teaching us how to think, how to empathize, or how to bring about this bottom-up solution. But the bottom line is, and I guess Aziz will agree with me, otherwise we wouldn't have been sitting here chatting, is that there is a solution. And this solution will come soon, and it will come from people like us, who see a solution and not a problem, an opportunity and not an obstacle.
Okay, I need to walk out now. You know what's interesting is, since I came here, I told you yesterday, The first thing when I saw Nir, he came and said, yeah, people told me I should meet you a while ago, and I told them people told me I should meet him, and it happened that we meet in Australia because we both live in Jerusalem, and or he works in Jerusalem, and I come there quite often, but can't meet there. But we come here and we spend quite a lot of time together, and if you've been around us, it's a little bit uncomfortable because both of us will make jokes that nobody else understands. And they're very inappropriate about Jews and Arabs. He'll make jokes about Arabs and everybody can look at him and say, is it okay? Should I laugh at this? I'll make Jewish jokes and everyone's like, oh no, he's gonna get in trouble. But I think this is exactly what I want you to remember. You know, when you go and watch the news tonight, tomorrow, you'll see something bad happening there because we're good at doing that. Try to remember something different. Try to remember this, that we can sit next to each other. I'll take the solution he said earlier. That works for me, works for him. And I think there are a lot of people like us. People ask me if I'm optimistic or not. I'm very optimistic. I think you cannot let the dark moments control your life. You cannot let the things that's happening now that are depressing in many ways decide the future for you. You have to still hold and hope, and that's what we're doing. After I travel and speak with some of my Israeli or Jewish partners, and normally after some people will come to me who are very pro-Palestinian, and the pro-Israeli, pro-Jewish will go to my Israeli partner, and they'll ask us the same question. Those who come to me will say, so it's nice you're working together, but can you really, really trust him? I mean, look at him. Trustworthy? And I do trust Nir. And that's what I want you to think of. We do trust each other because what we need is to start getting rid of the walls that separate us, and that's exactly what we're doing here, and to start building bridges. You know, we're talking about social enterprises. These are the bridges we need to build. Nir and I have been talking about what we could do now in Jerusalem together, in East Jerusalem, West Jerusalem, bringing Arabs and Jews together, doing some business ideas together. These are the bridges that we need to build. And we need a lot more help to build these bridges. There aren't many bridges in Jerusalem. There's one, and it's not that nice. At least I don't think it's that nice. Agree?
The one by the cinema theater.
No, that
Beautiful bridge. What's
no, the one by Binyana Ummah. It's not nice. But anyway, bridges are not easy to build. And it takes a lot of work. And it takes boldness. And it takes being willing to be criticized. And it takes, somebody yesterday told me after I spoke that they talked to somebody in Jerusalem about my speech, and they were told, oh, don't listen to him. He's kind of a traitor to his people. Well, some people will think about him being a traitor, being willing to talk to a Palestinian, scary, and some people will think I'm a traitor, being willing to talk to an Israeli. But if you have a problem, I still don't get it. The whole idea is don't talk to them because they're not so nice. When they get nice, we'll talk to them. Since when you choose your enemies to be nice? I've never got to choose my enemies. I never got to choose how nice they are. They're there. You have to start building bridges. And that's what we're trying to do here. But we are both optimistic. Give us little time. We're working on it. We're drawing the map. And soon we'll sign the agreement. Maybe we can do that here, right?
I have two positive suggestions to close up with. Well, it seems to be working that the Palestinians and Israelis work here and talk. Maybe we can bring all the Palestinians and Israelis to Melbourne and we can solve the problem.
It's fine for me. I'm totally supportive.
Alternatively, we can think of organizing a social enterprise conference like this one in Jerusalem next year.
Yeah.
But without Aziz, of course, because I don't talk to Palestinians. No, I mean, jokes aside, and again, as I said, the humor is a very powerful weapon and a very powerful shield. And you laugh between the tears, right? That's a kind of a Yiddish or a Jewish tradition. I think most of my friends back in Israel will sign on almost every word that Aziz said, and I think vice versa. It might take more time than we think, even though the conflict is relatively one of the youngest and relatively least bloodiest if you talk about other conflicts. But the whole idea of us sitting here and saying, yes, there is a hope. I mean, we know, we can feel the solution coming. It comes from people like us. And I think it's now time for all of us to leave this beautiful place and to thank Danny and Julia Roberts again, and go back to the trenches and get the work done.
Yes, I totally agree, and I know, again, it sounds not normal. Earlier we went to get the drinks, by the way, and one of us got coffee and one of us got scotch. What was that about? But we seem to...
Who was whom? That's the point.
It's obvious.
Drunk Palestinian, I'm telling you.
But you know what? I'm gonna finish with this, saying, working alone does not solve problems. And trying to solve this conflict each side on our own, or any conflict or any problem, one hand does not clap. We need to work together, and cooperation is what's gonna make it happen. You know, there are so many small things that keep happening that always inspires me. I'm gonna leave you with one story, and one story that might make you think about cooperating. When something bad went on in Jerusalem, a group of Palestinians from Ramallah, we decided, and the West Bank, sneak into Jerusalem and donate blood to Israelis in Jerusalem. And a group of Israelis went to Ramallah, to Palestinian hospital, and donated the blood to Palestinians. And that is a cooperation. If we can work together to save each other when we're sick. By the way, one last thing, I guess. 3 years ago, I had a terrible incident. I had cancer, really bad thing to have. And my doctor was Jewish. And when I went to his clinic, there was a Palestinian doctor, an Israeli doctor, and patients outside. And none of the patients were asking, is my doctor Jewish or Palestinian? Guess what were they asking? Any guess? Are they good or not? Are they gonna save my life or not? This is cooperation. This is what can save us. If we can think politically in the same way, what's good, what's gonna save life, and instead who's Palestinian, who's Israeli, we would not have a conflict anymore.